Have you ever wondered how cinema confronts the darkest chapters of human history? The 1970s gave us films that didn't just entertain, they shocked, unsettled, and forced audiences to stare into the moral abyss of war. From the jungles of Vietnam to the deserts of North Africa, these movies captured the chaos, the atrocities, and the impossible choices soldiers and civilians faced. Today, we're diving into 10 war crime films from the 1970s that remain unforgettable for their raw intensity, moral complexity, and cinematic brilliance. Buckle up, because you're about to step into battlefields you won't soon forget and witness the stories behind the stories Hollywood rarely dares to tell. Soldier Blue, 1970. Some films aren't just watched, they confront you, punch you in the gut, and refuse to let you look away. That's Ralph Nelson's Soldier Blue, a film that tore through audiences with its unflinching portrayal of the Sand Creek Massacre. It's not a simple Western. It's a moral reckoning, a stark examination of cruelty, and a critique of sanitized histories Hollywood often ignored. The story follows Honus Gent, Peter Strauss, a naive Union soldier, and Catherine, Candice Bergen, a strong-willed civilian woman as they traverse the American frontier. What begins as a journey across the wilderness quickly turns nightmarish when they witness the systematic slaughter of Cheyenne Indians by U.S. cavalry troops. Nelson doesn't sugarcoat the violence. The film is brutal, deliberate, and haunting, forcing viewers to confront uncomfortable truths about ambition, prejudice, and complicity. Did you know that the film's graphic depiction of the massacre sparked protests and censorship in multiple countries? Audiences were unprepared for such raw honesty, yet that very boldness cemented the movie's place as a landmark of social commentary in American cinema. Candice Bergen's performance shines, balancing fear, courage, and moral clarity, while Peter Strauss captures the journey from innocence to awakened conscience. Ebert admired Soldier Blue, not just for its narrative, but for its audacity. The film doesn't offer heroes or easy victories. It challenges viewers to question history, morality, and the narratives they've been taught. Every scene resonates with the weight of human cruelty and the courage it takes to witness it. Soldier Blue isn't simply a war film or a Western. It's a confrontation, a cinematic mirror reflecting humanity's darkest impulses. Ralph Nelson crafted a movie that educates, provokes, and haunts, and Roger Ebert recognized it as a masterpiece precisely because it refuses to let audiences look away. In the end, Soldier Blue proves that cinema can be more than entertainment. It can be a reckoning, a call to conscience, and a story that lingers long after the screen goes dark. Midway, 1976. Some films don't just recount history. They place you in the cockpit, the control room, and the tension-filled skies, making you feel every heartbeat and every perilous decision. That's Jack Smite's Midway, a gripping war epic that Roger Ebert recognized for its powerful portrayal of one of World War II's most pivotal battles. It's more than action. It's a story of strategy, courage, and the human cost of warfare. The film chronicles the events leading up to and during the Battle of Midway, a turning point in the Pacific Theater. Key figures like Admiral Chester Nimitz, Henry Fonda, Lieutenant Commander Wade McCluskey, Charlton Heston, and Lieutenant Richard Best, John Ford cameo narration, guide the audience through the tense anticipation, aerial dogfights, and split-second decisions that determined the fate of fleets and lives. Smite's attention to historical detail creates a vivid, immersive experience. Did you know that the filmmakers used a mix of archival footage, model work, and aerial photography to recreate the battle sequences? The result is an astonishing sense of realism, with explosions, torpedo runs, and dive-bombing attacks that make the audience feel the chaos and unpredictability of naval warfare. Every maneuver feels like a gamble. Every decision carries life or death weight. Ebert admired Midway not only for its spectacular visuals, but for its respect for the men who fought. The film balances thrilling action with moments of introspection, showing the bravery, leadership, and sacrifice required in combat. It doesn't glorify war blindly. It acknowledges the stakes, the strategy, and the human cost behind every heroic act. Smite's direction ensures that viewers aren't just observers. They're participants, feeling the tension, anticipation, and relief alongside the characters. The aerial cinematography, the naval maneuvers, and the intimate character moments combine to make Midway both epic and personal. Midway isn't merely a historical recounting. It's a cinematic voyage into courage, strategy, and the fragility of human life in war. Roger Ebert recognized it as a film that captures the intensity and significance of history, proving that war movies can be thrilling, educational, and emotionally resonant all at once. In the end, Midway shows that history is not just written in books. It's lived in moments of valor, split-second choices, and the daring spirit of those who faced impossible odds. Tora, 1970. Some films don't just recount history. They place you in the strategy rooms, the radar stations, and the cockpit, letting you feel the tension before disaster strikes. That's Tora. A meticulously crafted war epic, Roger Ebert praised it for its precision and historical fidelity. It's the story of the attack on Pearl Harbor, told from both American and Japanese perspectives, and it's as much a study in planning, misjudgment, and human error as it is a thrilling war film. The narrative follows key figures on both sides: Japanese Admiral Isoroku Yamamoto, Eiji Okada, and American commanders like Admiral Kimmel, Martin Balsam. Every decision, every intercepted message, and every delay carries monumental consequences. The film doesn't rely on dramatization alone. It reconstructs history with painstaking accuracy, showing the intelligence failures and miscalculations that led to one of the most shocking attacks in military history. Did you know that the film's title, Tora, comes from the Japanese code words meaning tiger, signaling complete surprise during the attack? Director Richard Fleischer, along with a Japanese co-director, coordinated massive sets, aerial sequences, and naval recreations to achieve a realism rarely seen in 1970s cinema. From the precision of the dive-bombing attacks to the chaos aboard battleships, every frame immerses the viewer in the pivotal moments leading to catastrophe. Ebert admired the film not just for its spectacle, but for its fairness and clarity. Unlike many war films that take sides, Tora presents both perspectives with empathy and accuracy, letting the audience understand the human and strategic forces at play. The film examines leadership, communication failures, and the unpredictable nature of war, making history both educational and viscerally immediate. Tora isn't just a historical reenactment. It's a cinematic lesson in anticipation, tension, and consequence. Roger Ebert recognized it as a masterpiece of research, execution, and storytelling, capturing the events leading to Pearl Harbor with an almost documentary-like precision while keeping the drama alive. In the end, Tora proves that some of the most gripping war stories come not from heroics alone, but from the moments when preparation, misjudgment, and history collide in unforgettable, devastating ways. A Bridge Too Far, 1977. Some films don't just tell history, they immerse you in the chaos of strategy, courage, and human error on a scale so massive, it's almost overwhelming. That's Richard Attenborough's A Bridge Too Far, a sprawling war epic that Roger Ebert praised for its meticulous depiction of Operation Market Garden, the ambitious Allied attempt to end World War II swiftly. It's a story of heroism, hubris, and the thin line between triumph and catastrophe. The narrative follows a constellation of soldiers, commanders, and airborne troops, including Sean Connery, Michael Caine, and Gene Hackman, as they attempt to capture a series of bridges in the Netherlands. The plan is audacious: seize key bridges, outflank German forces, and hasten victory. But as the mission unfolds, miscommunication, fierce resistance, and bad luck turn brilliance into disaster. Attenborough doesn't shy away from showing both the heroism and the devastating consequences of mistakes on the battlefield. Did you know the film employed over 1,100 extras, hundreds of vehicles, and full-scale replica bridges to recreate the operation? The scale of the production mirrors the scale of the historical events, giving audiences an immersive sense of the battle's complexity. Every shot, from paratroopers descending into enemy territory to tanks barreling across roads under fire, is choreographed with precision and realism. Ebert admired A Bridge Too Far for its combination of spectacle and human drama. The film doesn't focus solely on individual heroics. It explores leadership, moral decisions, and the chaos of war that can turn plans into tragedies. The ensemble cast brings nuance to both soldiers and commanders, highlighting courage, fear, and the heavy cost of warfare. Attenborough's direction captures the grandeur and the despair, balancing sweeping battle scenes with intimate moments of doubt, fear, and sacrifice. The audience experiences both the tension of large-scale strategy and the individual human cost of every decision. A Bridge Too Far isn't just a war film. It's a meditation on ambition, strategy, and the unpredictable nature of conflict. Roger Ebert recognized it as a cinematic achievement that combines epic scale with personal stakes, showing that even the best-laid plans can falter under the pressures of war. In the end, A Bridge Too Far proves that history is shaped not only by courage but by the unpredictable human and tactical forces that decide victory or defeat. Patton, 1970. Some films don't just tell history. They bring it to life, larger than life, with personalities so vivid they linger long after the credits roll. That's Franklin J. Schaffner's Patton, a cinematic portrait Roger Ebert hailed as one of the greatest war films ever made. It's a story of brilliance, controversy, and the raw complexity of one of World War II's most polarizing figures. The film centers on General George S. Patton, George C. Scott, a man as brilliant in strategy as he was fiery in temperament. From his flamboyant speeches to his battlefield decisions, Patton's persona dominates the screen. He inspires troops, intimidates enemies, and challenges allies. A man whose brilliance often courts chaos. Every scene pulsates with tension, charisma, and the moral ambiguities of leadership in wartime. Did you know that George C. Scott refused the Academy Award he won for this performance? He believed acting should not be a contest, yet his portrayal remains iconic. A study of intensity, ego, and the heavy burden of command. From Patton's iconic helmet and ivory-handled revolver to his sharp, uncompromising speeches, every detail amplifies the legend and the human contradictions of the man himself. Ebert admired Patton for its fearless portrayal of a flawed genius. The film doesn't sanitize his arrogance, his temper, or his controversial decisions. Instead, it presents a complete human portrait, a leader shaped by conviction, obsession, and the pressures of war. The opening monologue, delivered in front of a massive American flag, instantly establishes both awe and tension, setting the tone for a story of power, strategy, and human complexity. Schaffner's direction combines sweeping battle sequences with intimate character moments, showing both the scale of war and the personal cost of command. Cinematography, editing, and sound design place viewers in the chaos of combat while simultaneously revealing Patton's inner world, his doubts, pride, and relentless drive. Patton isn't merely a biography or a war movie. It's a meditation on leadership, ambition, and the paradoxes of genius. Roger Ebert recognized it as a masterpiece, a film that thrills, provokes, and endures, capturing both heroism and human contradictions at the heart of history. In the end, Patton reminds us that history isn't just shaped by events. It's shaped by the bold, the brilliant, and sometimes the unpredictable men who dare to lead. Catch-22, 1970. Some films don't just depict war, they shine a harsh, absurd light on the rules, bureaucracy, and moral contradictions that govern it. That's Mike Nichols' Catch-22, a darkly satirical masterpiece that Roger Ebert praised for its wit, complexity, and bold critique of military life. It's a story that exposes how systems meant to protect can also entrap, punish, and distort humanity. The film follows Captain John Yossarian, Alan Arkin, a U.S. Air Force bombardier stationed in Italy during World War II. Yossarian is desperate to survive, but survival is paradoxically outlawed by a convoluted military regulation, the infamous Catch-22. Anyone deemed insane can be grounded, but anyone who applies for grounding proves sanity and must fly dangerous missions. The film turns war into a Kafkaesque nightmare, highlighting absurdity, moral compromise, and the often invisible crimes committed in the name of duty. Did you know that Catch-22 was shot across multiple countries and used real planes for its combat sequences? Nichols combined chaotic aerial dogfights with intimate, darkly comic moments on the ground, showing that the machinery of war often ensnares the human spirit. Every character, from scheming officers to weary soldiers, embodies the tension between obedience and conscience, illustrating how ordinary people can become complicit in questionable acts under rigid systems. Ebert admired the film's ability to balance humor with tragedy. Beneath the absurdity lies a sharp critique of military bureaucracy and the moral compromises forced on soldiers. The catch itself is a metaphor for the impossible choices and ethical gray zones that define wartime behavior, where survival, loyalty, and duty often collide with conscience. Nichols' direction highlights both the chaos and the cruelty of war. Long tracking shots, fragmented timelines, and overlapping dialogue immerse viewers in the disorientation felt by soldiers, making the absurdity visceral, frightening, and darkly funny. Catch-22 isn't just a war movie. It's a moral examination of obedience, authority, and human complicity in questionable acts. Roger Ebert recognized it as a daring, unforgettable exploration of the absurdity and injustice inherent in conflict. In the end, Catch-22 proves that sometimes the most shocking war crimes aren't about battle alone. They're about the systems, rules, and blind compliance that trap ordinary people in extraordinary moral dilemmas. Apocalypse Now, 1979. Some films don't just depict war, they drag you into the chaos, the madness, and the moral fog that devours everyone in its path. That's Francis Ford Coppola's Apocalypse Now, a landmark film Roger Ebert hailed as one of the greatest ever made. It's not merely a Vietnam War story, it's a psychological odyssey into obsession, power, and the darkness lurking within every human soul. At the center is Captain Benjamin Willard, Martin Sheen, tasked with a mission upriver to locate Colonel Kurtz, Marlon Brando, a once-respected officer who has gone rogue, ruling a remote outpost with terrifying authority. The journey is surreal. Helicopters slicing through the night sky, rivers winding like veins through an unforgiving jungle, and soldiers teetering on the edge of sanity. Every moment feels both intimate and apocalyptic. Did you know that the film's production became legendary for chaos almost equal to the story itself? Sheen suffered a near-fatal heart attack. Brando arrived overweight and largely unprepared, and the crew faced typhoons, budget crises, and months of shooting delays. Coppola embraced madness, using it to fuel the raw energy and unpredictability that made the film unforgettable. Ebert admired Apocalypse Now not just for its spectacle, but for its exploration of morality and obsession. Kurtz's eerie philosophical monologues confront viewers with questions about the nature of power, the thin line between civilization and savagery, and the darkness lurking in all of us. The film doesn't provide easy answers. It forces the audience to navigate the same moral labyrinth as Willard. Coppola's vision is unforgettable. From the haunting score to the visual poetry of light and shadow, Apocalypse Now immerses viewers in a war that is as much internal as it is external. The jungle, the river, and the madness become extensions of the human psyche. Apocalypse Now isn't just a war movie, it's an experience, an expedition into the human heart under the pressure of violence and power. Roger Ebert recognized it as a masterpiece, a film that challenges, disturbs, and lingers long after the final frame. In the end, Apocalypse Now proves that war on screen can be more than action. It can be a mirror, reflecting humanity's capacity for chaos, obsession, and awe-inspiring terror. Dog Day Afternoon, 1975. Some films don't just tell a story, they trap you in real-time tension, moral ambiguity, and the raw pulse of desperation. That's Sidney Lumet's Dog Day Afternoon, a crime drama that feels less like Hollywood fiction and more like a live wire of human emotion. Roger Ebert praised it not only for its gripping story, but for its unflinching look at society, human desperation, and the choices people make when pushed to the edge. The story follows Sonny Wortzik, Al Pacino, and Sal Naturel, John Cazale, two small-time men who attempt to rob a Brooklyn bank to pay for a loved one's medical bills. What begins as a simple heist spirals into a media spectacle and hostage standoff, exposing greed, vulnerability, and the raw moral contradictions of survival. Lumet doesn't glamorize crime. He shows it as messy, risky, and heartbreakingly human. Did you know that the film was based on a real-life 1972 bank robbery? The actual events were just as chaotic and morally tangled, and Lumet's team worked tirelessly to capture the realism, even filming in actual Brooklyn streets and using authentic police and news responses to heighten the tension. Pacino's performance is electrifying, balancing charm, desperation, and unpredictability, while Cazale's quiet intensity adds a tragic layer to the unfolding drama. Ebert admired Dog Day Afternoon for its exploration of human desperation and societal pressures. The film isn't just a crime story. It's a study of ordinary people pushed into extraordinary circumstances where morality, legality, and survival collide. It asks uncomfortable questions. What lengths would you go to for love? How does society respond to desperation? Lumet's direction captures the claustrophobia of the bank, The pressure of the media spotlight and the chaos of negotiations outside, immersing viewers in the standoff with every heartbeat. Each moment feels immediate, raw, and unpredictable. Dog Day. Afternoon isn't merely a crime film, it's a study of human choices under pressure, societal judgment, and the fragility of morality. Roger Ebert recognized it as a masterpiece for its realism, emotional intensity, and timeless insight into the human condition. In the end, Dog Day Afternoon proves that even a seemingly simple heist can reveal the complexity, courage, and desperation hidden in the human heart. Too Late the Hero, 1970. Some films don't just show war. They dissect it, exposing cowardice, courage, and the blurred line between heroism and survival. That's Robert Aldrich's Too Late the Hero, a tense and morally complex World War II drama. Roger Ebert noted for its gripping intensity and character-driven storytelling. It's a story where bravery isn't glamorous, and every decision carries life or death weight. The narrative follows Norton, Cliff Robertson, a reluctant American soldier, and Lieutenant Fraser, Michael Caine, a British officer on a covert mission on the Japanese-occupied Pacific Islands. Tasked with destroying a strategic gun emplacement, the men confront not only enemy forces, but their own doubts, fears, and clashing personalities. Aldrich's film isn't about heroic triumphs, it's about the messy, human realities of war, panic, compromise, and the moral compromises soldiers must make in extreme circumstances. Did you know that the film was shot on location in the Philippines, using real military equipment and combat tactics to achieve realism? Every ambush, every night raid, every tense interaction crackles with authenticity, making the audience feel the heat, the tension, and the unpredictability of guerrilla warfare. Caine and Robertson deliver layered performances. Fraser's stoicism contrasts sharply with Norton's nervous ingenuity, creating dynamic tension and moral ambiguity. Ebert admired Too Late the Hero for its refusal to simplify war into black and white terms. There are no unambiguous heroes or villains. Courage, cowardice, and survival intertwine. The film examines how ordinary men navigate extraordinary circumstances, highlighting the psychological toll of combat and the arbitrary nature of fate in wartime. Aldrich's direction emphasizes realism over spectacle. Tight, claustrophobic shots, naturalistic dialogue, and intense battle sequences pull viewers into the jungle environment, making every decision feel immediate and consequential. The moral dilemmas the characters face resonate far beyond the battlefield, reflecting universal human struggles in extreme situations. Too Late the Hero isn't just a World War II movie. It's a meditation on courage, fear, and the human condition under fire. Roger Ebert recognized it as a compelling, morally intricate film that challenges audiences to confront the complexities of war, heroism, and survival. In the end, Too Late the Hero proves that in war, being a hero isn't always about glory. Sometimes it's about choices, conscience, and simply staying alive in the chaos of battle. Cross of Iron, 1977. Some films don't just show war. They throw you into the mud, blood, and moral decay of soldiers trapped in a conflict they can barely control. That's Sam Peckinpah's Cross of Iron, a harrowing portrait of the German experience on the Eastern Front, which Roger Ebert admired for its brutal honesty and complex depiction of courage, loyalty, and the human cost of war. The story follows Sergeant Steiner, James Coburn, a battle-hardened, pragmatic veteran, and his unit as they face the relentless Russian offensive. Unlike glorified portrayals of soldiers in Hollywood epics, Peckinpah's lens captures fear, exhaustion, and desperation, the reality of men fighting for survival rather than honor. Steiner's moral compass, wits, and leadership constantly clash with the rigid hierarchy of his superiors, creating tension both on and off the battlefield. Did you know that Peckinpah shot the film on location in Yugoslavia, using harsh, muddy terrain and authentic military equipment to amplify realism? The battle scenes are raw, chaotic, and terrifyingly believable, with close-ups, slow motion, and unflinching portrayals of injury and loss. Coburn's performance is magnetic. Equal parts stoic and cunning, he embodies the soldier trapped between obedience and survival. Ebert admired Cross of Iron not only for its action but for its exploration of morality and class in wartime. The film doesn't shy away from showing the cruelty of war, the pettiness of bureaucracy, and the courage of ordinary men navigating impossible circumstances. Steiner's struggle represents the human need for autonomy, honor, and justice, even amid utter chaos. Peckinpah's direction is visceral, using stark visuals, intense sound design, and meticulous pacing to immerse viewers in both the physical and psychological battles of war. Every firefight, strategic decision, and moral dilemma feels immediate and consequential. Cross of Iron isn't just a war film. It's a meditation on courage, futility, and survival under extreme conditions. Roger Ebert recognized it as a masterpiece of anti-war cinema, a film that strips away heroics to reveal the raw, often uncomfortable truth of combat. In the end, Cross of Iron proves that the greatest stories of war aren't about glory. They're about the men and women navigating fear, loyalty, and the relentless grind of survival. So here we are, having walked through jungles, skies, deserts, and battlefields that cinema captured with unflinching honesty. These 1970s war crime films didn't just entertain, they forced audiences to confront the chaos, the moral compromises, and the human cost of conflict. From the jungles of Vietnam and Apocalypse Now to the mud-soaked trenches of Cross of Iron, from Pearl Harbor's tension in Tora, to the desperate standoffs of Dog Day Afternoon, each film pulls back the curtain on moments history often sanitizes. Roger Ebert saw in these movies something more than spectacle. He saw moral reckoning, psychological tension, and the weight of choice under impossible circumstances. These weren't simple stories of heroism or villainy. They were messy, complicated, and unforgettable. If you felt your heart race, your mind stretch, or your perspective shift, then you know the power of cinema to reflect the human condition at its most extreme. And this is just the beginning. There are countless stories from war, history, and human resilience waiting to be explored.